What's up YouTube, this is Bison X79 guys, today I'm coming to my latest stick profile video for May 2021, and today guys, we're going to be looking at my updated 6 Samurai deck. Now 6 Sams, one of the best spam decks that Konami has ever created. This deck can fill the field with monsters, and from that point you can do a myriad of different things. You can Synchro summon, you can see summon, you can even Link summon. It does a little bit of everything, and with the monsters you put on the board, you can actually control your opponent and lock them down to what you wanted them to do. And I can tell you right now, that could be insanely detrimental to helping you win the duel with this deck. You don't need to spend over 5-10 minutes just cycling a few cards to build up counters, because this deck naturally can build up counters with the number of summons you can get. And to be honest, the deck does work really well. So without further ado, we're jumping right into this deck. First and foremost, we have 2 copies of Elder, the 6 Samurai. Elder is just this amazing card. It is the Cyber Dragon of the 6 Samurai archetype. Basically, if your opponent controls a monster and you don't, you special summon it to the field. Free body on the board. Lucky you do. It is level 3 monster with 400 attack. I can tell you right now, works pretty damn well, and it just helps you build into your boards. Alright, next up we have 1 copy of Grandmaster of the 6 Samurai. Grandmaster of the 6 Samurai can bring itself out when you have another 6 Samurai monster on the field, and if this card is ever destroyed by card effect, you're getting another 6 Samurai monster from your graveyard back into your hand, which is just awesome. Big boss monster of this deck, Great Shogun Shien. Very easy to get out of this deck with certain support cards in here. If you control 2 or more 6 Samurai monsters with different names, you can special summon him, and then when he hits the field, he basically is shutting down what your opponent can do. Basically, he only allows 1 spell or trap for your opponent to activate per turn, which means if your opponent activates a structure spell while this guy's in the field, that's all they're getting. With this card, as well as other negates on the board, you can pretty much control what your opponent's going to be able to activate and shut them out for the rest of the turn. So definitely being able to stop extending can just cripple a lot of combo decks boards. Three copies of Kagemusha of the 6 Samurai. This is my favorite tuner monster in this deck, and the archetype of all. Very easily utilized alongside asceticism in this deck, so you can actually be able to build into a lot of different things depending on what you open. Not only that, but while this card's in the field, it can actually protect some of your other 6 Samurai monsters by redirecting attacks to itself. So yeah, there's that option. A lot of people overlook it, so keep that in mind when you're using this card. We have legendary 6 Samurai Inishi. If you control 2 other 6 Samurai monsters on the field with different names, this Kai powers boosts itself up by 500 attack. Very awesome. You can also banish cards out of your graveyard to actually get a compulsory evacuation device effect, which is huge. Can't eat your normal summon, which is why we want to turn around, try to special summon them off of asceticism from your deck. We have 3 copies of legendary 6 Samurai Kageki. Kageki is the best starter card in this deck, because whenever you normal summon him, he's bringing another 6 Samurai monster to your field. And if you happen to have asceticism in your hand, depending on what card you need, you can either chain it to its effect, or just wait till it summons and use it again. And not use asceticism to bring out a different monster. So it's definitely being able to do a lot of different things. Helps get your Synchro plays going, helps get your Xyz plays going, helps get your Link plays going. So your starter card. And the linchpin monster of the deck is going to be one of the 3 copies of legendary 6 Samurai Kazan. Just like Inishi, power boosts himself when they have 2 or more 6 Samurai monsters with different names in the field. He goes up to 2100 if I remember correctly. He's just an amazing card. Easy to special summon if you control another 6 Samurai monster on the field with a different name, as long as it's not his own name. And this is the guy that you're going to be utilizing to build into some of your Synchros, your Link plays, or your Ixies plays, and recycle them from the graveyard back to your hand via Gateway. Two copies of Secret Six Samurai. Fuma, pretty awesome card. Basically, whenever this card is destroyed, you're able to search your deck and get a Six Samurai monster out of the deck. Excuse me, not search your deck, it's actually a special summon into the field, excuse me. And then while this card's in the graveyard, you can actually banish it to protect your Six Samurai monsters from being destroyed by card effects, or even by battle, so. We also have Secret Six Samurai Hatsume. Very awesome card. What Hatsume does is basically she can banish a Six Samurai monster out of your graveyard and one off the field to special summon another Six Samurai monster back onto your field. A lot of times you use her as a cost from the field, but it still works very well and she's able to help you extend. So next up we have, for the Six Samurai monsters, we have the Six Samurai Sanji. I actually like running Sanji in this. It's a great asceticism target for Kazan, just to have another extra body on the board, or to bring Kazan out of the deck. If you control another Six Samurai monster and this battles one of your opponent's monster, this card's effect will basically destroy that monster. So yeah, it helps clear out problematic monsters, even if this card is destroyed, because it's going to pop your opponent's monster. You have to run hand traps in this deck. There's no way around it. I'm running 2 copies of Ash. Might seem a little bit strange, but I'm favoring another card in this deck over Ash to help deal with one of the weaknesses this deck has, and that's basically dealing with monster effects. Ash is just a great card just to shut down searching, grave dumping, or even special summoning from the deck. 2 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. Just another great card to help deal with combo decks. Can just basically blow their board up and just leave them with a token in defense position. A lot of times the token might not have a lot of attack, since you are going to be running against... I've seen a lot of Link dependent decks, so it won't have that much defense, and it's always easy to clear off the board with an attack. For the spells, 3 copies of Asceticism. This card is just an amazing card. A quick play spell that can allow you to target one Six Samurai monster you control on the field. Special summon another monster with Six Samurai monster to the field with the same attack as the one targeted. The targeted one's destroyed at the end of the turn, but that's not going to be an issue, considering most of the time you're going to be Synchro summoning or Exceed summoning or Link summoning with said monsters. 1 copy of Gateway of the 6. This card is just sick and crazy for this deck. Really easy to get out with the Battle Shogun. Basically, when this card's on the field, anytime you summon a Six Samurai monster, this card gains 2 Bushido counters, and depending on the number of counters you remove from this card, depends on what you can do. Remove 2 cards, you can power boost one of your Six Samurai monsters by 500. Not bad. Remove 4 counters, you can actually search your deck for another Six Samurai monster to add to your hand, or recycle one back from your graveyard to your hand. That's the important one. That's the one you're going to be using the most. And remember, it's not just removing 4 counters off this card, it's actually 4 counters from the field. So don't worry about putting all the counters here, because we have other cards that can actually mitigate that as well. And then the last one, you remove 6, you're regaining a Xian monster from your graveyard and special summon into the field. Not really the one we use the most, but it can come up if you need it. So there's that. Next up, we have 3 copies of Xian's Dojo. This is to help counterpoint the Gateway in the deck. Basically, Xian's Dojo also holds both shooter counters, and it gains them in the same way. This is that you only gain 1 counter at a time per summon. Regardless of that, pairing this with Gateway just makes a great combo, because it allows you to remove a lot of different counters from different areas, so you can do repeated searches or recycle materials. Other thing about this card is that you could actually send this card to the graveyard, and depending on how many counters you have, you could actually special summon right from your deck to the field a 6 Samurai or Shien monster with a level equal to the number of, or lower than the number of counters on this card. And then of course we have 2 copies of 6 Samurai United. It can only hold 2 Bushido counters, but then again 2 is pretty much all you need. When you send this card to the graveyard with 2 Bushido counters, you can actually draw 2 cards. And then next card is we have 2 copies of Shien Smoke Signal, Searcher spell that helps you get any level 3 or lower 6 Samurai monster from your deck to your hand. And of course we also brought 1 copy of Reinforcement of Army to get any level 4 warrior monster from your deck to your hand. Monster Reborn, perfect extender for this deck. A couple of equips, different dimensional reincarnation, could help set up your graveyard depending on what you have in your hand, because it does have the discard cards, and then basically brings back a banished monster from your banish zone onto your field. Also a great way to extend. Moon Mirror Shield. Oh man, I love this card so much. Basically equip it to a monster, and then that monster will gain attack equal to the monster it's battling, plus 100, so you're always going to be able to swing over problematic monsters your opponent has, even if they're attacking you. That's what makes this card so damn awesome. It also has a recycling effect, so if you draw early, you can just basically equip to a monster you know you're going to link it off. When this card hits the graveyard, you pay 500 life points, put it on the bottom of your deck, and you can just go from there. And then the card I was mentioning when I was talking about Ash Blossom is one of the 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. I just love having this card. It's kind of like a feather where you can actually just use it multiple times during the course of your turn. But then again, you could also set the card to your back row, still activate it, negate the monster effect, and then if your opponent has a key spell trap card that's in the same column, you can negate that card as well. So it gives you a little extra oomph. That's it for the main deck, 40 cards. We're going to the extra deck. Next up we have 2 copies of Legendary 6 Samurai Shien. Very awesome level 5 Synchro monster. Can negate 1 spell and trap card per turn, but still it's just an awesome negate. And sometimes in early, Shien can be very problematic for your opponent to deal with. 1 copy of Notoria Beast. Oh, Notoria Beast does a whole lot of work. This card's effect a lot. As long as you have cards in your main deck, you mill 2 cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard to negate the activation of a spell. And the really awesome thing about this card is that it's not a hard once per turn, so you can actually continue to negate and negate and negate during the course of your opponent's turn. So shutting down those spell cards can really hurt your opponent from extending. And to help complement Notoria Beast, we have a copy of Notoria Bark here, and this is a Gold Ghost rare from that particular set. But as long as you have cards in your graveyard, you can actually banish those cards and negate the activation of trap cards. And just like Beast, barking is not hard once per turn, which means this card pulls a major double duty in the Eldritch matchup, primarily because you can negate the activation of a trap card on the field and then negate the activation while it's in the graveyard, so you can actually just shut your opponent Eldritch Blades down so well. And then last but not least, I'm running 1 copy of Trishula. I just like Trishula. Special summon this card onto the field, and then if it's turn 2, you can just banish a card off your opponent's field, out of the graveyard and out of the hand. If it's just during your first turn, you can just rip a card out of their hand. Still, it's worth it, and just an awesome synchro to have. For the Xyz, I'm running 1 copy of Levier the Sea Dragon, again to help get cards from your banish zone back onto the field. 1 copy of Abyssal to help shut down graveyard activated effects. 1 copy of the 41 Babushka to help shut down monster effects and Storm. Number 60, Dugaris the Timeless. Oh, this card is just insane in this deck. Giving up certain phases of your next turn can allow you to get different things. Giving up your draw phase of your next turn allows you to draw 2 cards. Giving up your main phase of your next turn allows you to special summon a monster from your graveyard at defense position. If you give up your battle phase of your next turn, you can actually double the attack of a monster you control on the field, which is awesome. Since most of the 6 samurai monsters tap out around 2,500, you can actually make them 5,000, be able to swing over your opponent's monsters. And then, of course, we have Shadow of the Six Samurai Shien. This card is just an amazing Xyz monster for the Six Samurai deck. It's another Six Samurai name, so it allows you to gain counters onto your counter-gaining cards. And not only that, but if this card is on the field with Kageki, you can actually boost Kageki up to like 3,700 attack using its effect. So, next up for the links, we have 2 copies of Battle Shogun of the Six Samurai. Basically, on summon, you pitch a card from your hand, and you're able to place a spell card that can hold Bushido counters on it onto the field. This is the primary way of you getting into your gateway. This card also gains counters whenever you summon 6 samurai monsters. Unfortunately, we don't really utilize that effect that much, since we already have enough counter spells in the deck, and we typically link this card off very quickly once we have what we need in the field. We do have Isolde in this deck. Isolde, again, helps this deck get going because it's an additional search on summon. And not only that, but you also pitch 1 or 2 equipped spells from your deck to your graveyard to special summon a monster from your deck onto the field, which is awesome. Helps you get out of Fumo or even Kagamusha if you don't have the asceticism. From there, and with the ability to spam the board with a lot of different monsters, you're able to build up into Appaloosa. Appaloosa also helps deal with this deck's weakness to monster effects, and it's very easy to get 4 monsters with different names onto the field, so you can actually get Appaloosa up to 3,200 attack. If you're going second, however, the card you want to build into is Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Requires 4 or more effect monsters, but the really cool thing is you could actually take one of your opponent's monsters and use it as a material. So a link on your side plus 2 other monsters, and one of your opponent's monsters can get this girl, and when she's on the field, she basically shuts down your opponent's graveyard, and that can hurt a lot of different decks that are out there. Guys, that is it for my updated Six Samurai deck for May 2021. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this on my channel, make sure to subscribe, enable notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Check out the description box below. Find the invite link to my Discord server. Join the conversation. We'd love to have you. Check out my affiliates, tcgplayer.com, as well as sidedeckversus.com. Great resources for any Yu-Gi-Oh player. Follow me on social media. And guys, until next time, peace.